Now, the Assets and Recovery Interagency Network has successfully recovered, it says, more than 40 out of 50 million rands or Maloti that had been siphoned out of Lesotho. Lesotho's Directorate on Corruption and Economic Offences held productive collaboration between Lesotho and South African agencies as a template that can be used effectively to fight commercial crimes.
It's a job well done. The South African National Prosecuting Authority, in collaboration with other crime agencies, have successfully returned 18 million rands or Maloti back to its rightful owners. A fraudulent 50 million Maloti was siphoned to a South African bank in September last year. As legal proceedings continue, at least 40 million has been successfully intercepted.
You know, we have been struggling as a country now, demanding many papers, this and this. But with this collaboration now, I think now it can actually be a good job for both two countries. Now, like they mentioned, that even though they have experience, there are some other issues where they need to improve, and they have learned from South African part. Because of that collaboration, South African law enforcement managed to work together with ours. Now look where we are now. I think I can applaud that in that.
The Accountant General says this experience has been a lesson to maximize limited resources for a higher return. They strive to achieve a cashless society to minimize white-collar crime.
So what keeps me awake at night is solving one small problem a day. And when when I compute all those in the 365 days, then it makes 365 solutions. And when we look at them holistically, then they would make a big impact. There is still far where we are heading to. There are a lot of developments and improvements that we want to have, particularly moving electronically, moving from manual, electronically and cashless.
And to both law enforcement agencies, this is a template that works not just on paper, but practical.
When we were in South Africa last week, they were very, very delighted, as this provides a template for international cooperation. This case, the output of this case, actually it reflects the manifestation of the networks, not just on paper but practically. So it provides a template for many of us.
Any other high-profile cases we can look forward to? Was this a small fry, easy to catch?
It wasn't even an easy to catch one, but they are ever evolving, these high-profile cases, except that we cannot divulge much. But with this collaboration, you will see that we say zero tolerance to crime and corruption.
Even in high-profile cases?
Any crime.
The prime suspect, a 40-year-old male, is one Lehlonololo Slate, who's facing 12 previous other commercial crimes, and the state says they will oppose bail when he appears in court soon. Rapelang Radebe, SABC News, Lesotho.
And we speak to our correspondent Rapelang Radebe to tell us a little bit more about this. Rapelang, a very good evening to you. Let's just first start about this amount of money that's said to have been recovered, between 40 out of 50 million rands. Were there specific crimes that were being looked at, and can you tell us which crimes?
Mr. Peter, thank you very much. Yes. I think there has been a serious issue with issues of commercial crimes. Now with the age of digital technology, it's very easy that people can actually almost emulate and elude systems. So I think this particular one had been on the radar for the detectives for a while, because we get to understand that this was his 12th attempt.
Rapelang? Right, we seem to unfortunately have lost contact with my colleague Rapelang Radebe. We will try and re-establish contact with him. Okay, he is back again with us. Rapelang, we are back again with you. You're speaking about the serious
Yes. Indeed, yes. It's about the 12th case, I think, that he's been investigated for. A very young man, apparently, who's the mastermind behind this. He's been on the radar of the police detectives, but it is the speed at which this particular one was picked up and yielded some pretty good results, I think, collaboration between the two countries.
Just tell us a little bit more about the crime.
Apparently, his name, Lesotho, popularly known, he's an accountant, and he has been a bit of a pain, I think, to the finance division, as they say, according to one source I spoke to. And this guy had been stealing, and he's got bail. Some not recoverable, but he pulled this master one where 50 million last year, September, was siphoned into a South African bank. Him, I think, assisted, I don't know whether voluntarily or unknowingly, by 3 others who are now on bail. But the government or the police have said they will make sure that they do everything that he does not see bail, especially on this particular crime.
Do we have any idea of who the victims were? And as you say, it is uncertain at this stage if the accomplices were witting or not. Is there a particular reason why that is unclear at this stage?
I think the police are pretty cagey when it comes to mentioning others, because they say there's a possibility that it might jeopardize their case. So the name that kept coming is the prime suspect, who is one Lesotho. He's a Mosotho, lives in Lesotho, but he had skipped the country into South Africa. So I think they're saying there are other connections that they want to make in Lesotho, also in South Africa. But they're saying because of the sensitivity of this particular case, they are reluctant to start mentioning names lest they jeopardize their case.
All right, so the money was, just trying to establish, was stolen from where or whom? It was siphoned through a South African bank or two?
Yes, apparently he was generating either false claims from the Lesotho government, from the public coffers, generating invoices of things that did not exist. But ultimately, he was able to convince a payment of 50 million into a South African account. When we actually heard about the crime, we pretty thought it was a joke, only to realize that as investigations go deeper, that yes, indeed, that amount of money. And the question was whether one single person or acting in chorus with others would be able to pull off such a stunt. So yes, an amount close to actually of 50 million was siphoned into a South African bank account. It looks like he skipped the country, I think, when he realized that there was much more collaboration to try and trace the money. So ultimately, he was taken back to Lesotho. 3 others, I think, co-accused had already appeared. Somehow miraculously were able to make bail. But on his instances, I think in the coming week or so, he will be appearing before court, and the police says they are not going to allow any bail to succeed.
Rapelang, which agencies in Lesotho and South Africa were involved, and how can this collaboration be replicated for future crime prevention operations?
I think an important question, yes, because there is an association. I was trying to get the name, but From the Lesotho side, the Directorate of Economic Offences, DCEO, is the one that was championing it. But I think they had massive assistance from the police minister and from the Ministry of Finance. In South Africa, the NPA was key. They are the one who actually ultimately made arrests. They actually went to court and ultimately were able to now get that particular check signed, reversing those amounts, returning them back to Lesotho. And out of the 50 million, almost 40 million, they are saying they are still battling with, I think, amount of about 8 million that they're battling with, but they said they are hot on the heels. That means it would be the first successful total recovery, if it comes to that point, of whereby money that was swindled from another country is returned, especially at that speed.
All right, thanks for that, Rapelang. An update on that collaboration between Lesotho and South African law enforcement officials in fighting commercial crime. This particular crime amounted to 50 million rands, and it seems that the agencies of both countries have been able to net back 40 million. The main suspect in custody, 2 or 3 others accused of being accomplices. As Rapelang says, it's not yet been established whether they were willing or not.